Hello, I'm going to teach you, and this is just an explanation, so don't even have your guitar out for this. You could have your guitar out, but just make sure you're actually paying attention to what's being said here. So for this lesson, you're going to want to look up either on your phone or on your computer, or just print it out, draw your own, whatever you have to do. The circle of fifths. Now this is an explanation of our musical system that's been in place for hundreds of years. When you hear the term a key in music, let's say the key of C, all that's telling you is which notes to play. And by which notes to play, I mean there are 12 notes on a guitar. You have E, F, F sharp, which would also be known as G flat, G, A sharp, which is, G sharp, which is also A flat, A sharp, which is also B flat, B, C, C sharp, which you could also call D flat, D, and then D sharp, which is E flat. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there's 12 notes, but 5 of them, I guess, yeah, 5 of them have 2 names. The reason for that is because when you look at your circle of fifths, the right half is, well, I guess down here, the right half is keys that only have sharps. The left half is keys that only have flats. So an explanation of that is as you move around the circle of fifths, the first key on the top is C, that is 0 sharps or flats. The next one to the right is G, which has 1 sharp. Next one is D, which has 2 sharps. Next one's A, which has 3 sharps, E, 4 sharps, etc. And it continues on that way, rightward. But if you go left from the top, then it's flat. Okay, flat notes. And there's a special order to the circle of fifths. What that is F, C, G, D, A, E, B. That's for sharps. Okay, so if you have 1 sharp, it's going to be F. You have 2 sharps, it's going to be F and C. 3 sharps is going to be F, C, and G. 4 sharps, you add the D in there. 5 is A. You know, you keep it going like that. Now, if you're doing flats, it's just backwards. It's B, E, A, D, G, C, F. So B, E, A, D, G, C, F. Now, what that means is if you have 1 flat, it's going to be B. 2 flats, it's going to be E. 3 flats, it's going to be A. And when you look at the circle of fifths, from the first flat, the key with 1 flat is F. Now, if you look from right to left, or from left to right, it's F, C, G, D, A, E, B. Now, if you continue past that, it's F sharp, which is also G flat, C sharp, which is also D flat, and then it continues with A flat, E flat, and B flat, which are all the flat versions of the notes that we were discussing before. Like you have F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, which is A flat, E flat, which is D sharp, so F, C, G, D, A, E, B. It continues in that order. Now you might want to memorize the order of sharps and flats. Just go F, C, G, D, A, E, B, B, E, A, D, G, C, F. But that's beside the point. So now that you kind of have the idea, and you want to be looking at your circle of fifths while I'm explaining that, so maybe if you weren't, bring it back, get an idea of what I'm talking about so you understand what the circle of fifths is telling you. Now, I'm going to teach you how to implement that into your playing. don't touch a guitar yet, but as I said before, the key of C has no sharps or flats, and the 3rd fret on the A string is C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So you start and end on C there. Those are the 7 notes in the key of C. C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Just 7 notes, no sharps or flats in there. And that's all the key is just 7 notes of the 12. Remember before I showed you there were the F sharp, which is also G flat, G sharp, which is also A flat, etc. And it continues like that. The only notes that don't have a sharp / flat between them are B and C and E and F. So it just goes E, F, and then when you come down to B, there's no B sharp. It's just, there's no B sharp and there's no C flat. B sharp would be C and C flat would be B in theory, we'll say. But that's beside the point. So, when you play the major scale, those are your 7 notes in that key. In the key of C, there are no sharps or flats, so that means you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Simple. Now, the shape for a major scale is something that you really want to get into your head, because the shape doesn't change other than later we'll kind of get into that. But since you have on your G string G, A, B, G, A, B, your octave, so the G string has B on the 4th fret, and on every other string, on the E string, A is on the 5th fret. On the A string, D is on the 5th fret, and so the next string down is always on the 5th fret on every string except for the G string. So that means that you have to move down 1 fret. You have to move the shape down 1 fret. We'll get into that later. All I'm trying to show you is from C, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 5. That shape is the major scale, and it can be applied to any other note. So if I go 1 right in the circle of fifths, it's G. Now that's just 1 fret down here. So that's G, A, B, C, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Now remember it had 1 sharp, and so that's F sharp. Now we can take that anywhere. If we continue down, this is the kind of the shape of the circle of fifths: F, C, G, D, A, E, B. You can keep it going. Just pay attention to which note, because certain ones. Just pay attention when you're going down and identifying the circle of fifths here. But if you go to the next one in the circle of fifths after G, it's D. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. So that one has 2 sharps, and they're F and C sharp. F sharp and C sharp. Now, when you look at the sharps that are being added, they're always going to be the note just 1 fret before the root note. The root note would be, if we're in the key of D playing the D major scale, C sharp is the the new sharp being added to that key that wasn't in the previous key around the circle of fifths. So that means that you have D here, the sharp added is C sharp because it's just one to the left of it. Now, you can do that with any note, just any note on the entire fretboard. Look at the circle of fifths, figure out which notes are in it, and then you just say the note name out loud. Where the next one would be A, and that has 3 sharps, so it's F, C, and G are the sharps. So A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. You can do that anywhere on the neck. Now, the next lesson I'm gonna teach you playing wise. This is just to think about. The next lesson I'm gonna teach you is actually how to play the major scale and how to apply it to your playing. This is just getting the idea into your mind so you know what's going on. When you hear a key, you go, oh, it's the key of A, that means I can do just whatever, as long as it's in the key, it's gonna sound right for the most part. We'll get to more on that later, but respectively, the major scales are all the same shape, and chords are well, certain chords, when you play a chord like this, see there's a bar, my finger goes all the way across. That's a G chord, A chord. Bad Leroy Brown there. But since all of our scales are the same shape, and we have chords that we can use that are going to be the same shape, that means that if I'm in the key of C, I can go C chord, F chord, G chord, now I can just take this anywhere. Let's just do a random one, and I can go I hope that makes sense. All that's saying is, since all of the major chord shapes are the same, that you can apply just about anything you learn if you identify that it's in that key, and in respects to the major scale, the positions are the same, then you can play the same thing anywhere. So that means that when you learn something, that you can play it in any other situation as long as you apply it correctly. Like another example would be, you're playing your major scale, right? Now let's just do a little Mr. Sandman. Now you can take that down. Now that's, I'm changing the key, but I'm playing the exact same thing, just starting on a different note. And that's kind of a really important thing with music to learn early on, because it took me a long time to really figure all this crap out that I'm showing you in this video, and it really hurt my ability to progress quickly at playing. I had a really good guitar teacher, but he just failed to explain things to me. He would just say, okay, here's how to... there's Crazy Train, but what's going on in Crazy Train? You know, what am I like? When you learn something that way, you don't know how to apply it anywhere else. You know what I mean? It's limiting yourself, not learning why or what you're actually doing, just learning how to do it. It's like, if I were to learn and not know what key that was in, I couldn't change it. You know, that's just... I wouldn't know how to apply it to different situations. So I want you to really just kind of look at your guitar and when you see someone playing or you hear something on the radio, kind of try to hear the distance that they're moving, not like, don't focus too much on that it's an A chord. Focus on that's on the movement. It's first to fifth to fourth, whatever. You want to focus on how it moves, not specifically what chord is happening until later on, you know, until you can tell what chord it is by hearing it. I'm gonna wrap up this lesson here, but I just, you know, I don't want to forget anything because this is something that's really important for you to learn, to drill into your brain. If I were you, I would play this exercise. Just look at the circle of fifths and don't even copy the way I'm doing it. Just find the note. So let's say you start from C. You're gonna go C, G, A, C, C, G, D, A, E, B. You know, F, C, G, D, A, E, B, and then you can start again from F, F, C, G, D, A, E, B. You know, and just kind of really work your way around, you know, really getting that down packed. Now when you're going, from C to G, you're moving a fifth. If you go upwards, it's 5 notes. But if you go downwards, then it's 4 notes, so it's a fourth. Like, let's say from G to C, it's 4 notes, but from C to G, it's 5 notes. Does that make sense? So one way, in one direction around your circle of fifths, it's fifths, right? It's just fifth, fifth, fifth. That means C to G is a fifth. And it continues that way. But if you go the opposite direction, not the opposite direction around the circle, but downward from it, like downward instead of upward. If you go downward, then it's a fourth. That means that from G to C, it's 4. But from C to G, up, just ascending, it's 5. It's 5 notes, or a fifth. That is that's kind of the main point here, and that also will lead into our next lesson. I'm sorry for rambling on here. I just really wanted to kind of give myself some time to remember everything I could to teach you guys on this. because it's important. You should get a folder or maybe a binder, print out your circle of fifths, maybe put a notebook in there to take notes, or just some loose pieces of notebook paper so you can take notes, and keep that near you while you're practicing so you can write things down, because you're going to want to be able to reference it, and you're going to want to have a place to store your things like the circle of fifths that you're going to need to reference frequently. You're going to want to be able to store it so it's safe, but also so you can get to it pretty easily. Again, my name's Nick Gross. Thank you for watching, and sorry for rambling.